Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hello, changemakers. Welcome back to Reality Bytes. It feels like it's been a long time since we got the band together, got the band back together. You might even say, but we're here with Sean, Megan, and Tim, and we've got a few things to discuss today. After, as I think anybody in the industry will agree, was an extremely exciting few weeks or month or more in digital employee experience. So let's start by welcoming Tim back, who has made
Yeah,
I think a rather courageous business trip to the other side of the world, as it is in London,
I
to
didn't go
Australia.
by boat. It wasn't that courageous.
Yeah, true. Well, good day, Tim. How you feeling? You jet lagged? You all right?
There's a really cool app called Time Shifter. It helps you get ahead of the shift before you actually go. So jet lag's not too bad. Came back with a little bit of a head cold. Thankfully, not COVID. It's my third trip to Australia, and it's always cool to see that part of the world and see our team grow the business there. So it was a great trip.
Excuse me, there's an app. What does the app do? Knock you out, or just says go to
No,
bed?
yeah,
Right,
it plugs into your brain, and yeah.
what could it possibly do that could decrease the jet lag from
You
an
uh,
Australia
you
to?
you plug in your airline and your flight, and it knows exactly when you're flying, and it starts to shift you to the new time zone before you leave. So it tells you when to go to bed, when to wake up earlier, when to have melatonin, when to have caffeine, when to get sunlight, and it starts to shift your body rhythm into the
Wow.
new time zone before you fly. It's really cool.
So I was going to say, as long as if you just went and go to bed and it's like 4 p.m. or something, you'd be like, oh, thanks a lot.
No, they integrate it all. It's a really cool system. You
All
got to
right, I
stick
might.
to it. It's kind of sucks getting up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday, but
Yeah. Oh, I might look into this for any trip I make in the future because I'm far
yeah.
too oversensitive to the least change in body clock. But how was it? It was your third trip down under, and how would you
Yeah.
chart then across those three trips Dex awareness, Tim? How?
So first trip was very evangelical. It kind of still is, but the difference between the first one, which was 2018, to now 2024, the team is well versed on the pitch. We got a great team there. Rowan just promoted to ANZ. I can't say that. ANZ. Still can't get that Z out, but apparently it's a law. You have to say Z instead of Z.
Yeah.
Great country manager just promoted. Vince has been here for many years as an SE. Gerald in the CSM role. Jacob in sales. Parth is our brand new BDR. Great team down there. But the vibe that you get from the public events and the private events, visiting customers and prospects, they all know what it is. Our sales reps are saying when I call on people now, they say, yeah, we've already formed a team, or we're trying to use one of our internal tools to do that. So it's definitely, the wave is definitely getting bigger than it was back in 2018.
It's a funny one because I've worked with Australian companies before, not particularly at NextThink, but
Mm,
it is funny when you first do it and you realize that the distance from
yeah,
the US and the UK, it makes a difference to the industry out there. Like, because you think of it as like, it's a digital world. Australia is a Western, it's the Anglosphere. You
hmm
just assume everything kind of permeates simultaneously, but it's not the case, is it? It can
it
take a
takes
little
some
while,
time,
like
even even to
flying
just
there. Yeah.
yeah, even to just get them connected to their own teammates. They're 14 hours ahead of the East Coast of the US. So
Yeah.
8 a.m. For us is 10 p.m. So even just internal collaboration is a struggle. It's tough to get the kind of on-demand messaging, or if they want to talk to somebody. And then the people, the businesses that they collaborate with all tend to be local as well. The banks collaborate with the home goods stores, and they're actually starting to spontaneously form their own user community, which is really cool to see too. When I was there, $1 million renewal came in, and we signed the competitor, the equivalent of Home Depot. It really great collaboration across customers and momentum building everywhere we turned.
So just before we move on, just another generic Australian comment. I don't know if we have Australian listeners, but if we do, I apologize. I've done an Australian accent. I've hit every cliche in the book, maybe as well. But it does amaze me that that it must be bizarre to fly for 30 something hours, whatever
Yeah.
it is, to get off a plane and everyone's speaking English, and it just blows your mind that this whole this whole rapport, as it were, the settlement of Australia, however you put it,
Yep.
happened when you couldn't get on a plane. I mean, how on earth did they pull this off? Like,
Yeah, it's it struck me when I was there too. You're so far away from Europe, but it feels very European. The just the vibe, the towns, the history. They celebrate their indigenous roots. The indigenous population is celebrated, and it's a really and a little bit different vibe from city to city. Melbourne is very artsy and kind of. I would say blue collar. Sydney is more white collar and professional. Kind of the difference between maybe a Boston and a New York City, but all friendly people. Great, just a great vibe all around.
nice, nice. Yeah, I heard that about Melbourne. I had a friend from Melbourne. So you were out there. You went to a Gartner event, Tim,
Yeah.
and you must have. Were you there when the critical capabilities report hit?
I was. It was the Gartner Symposium, so it wasn't like the Digital Workplace Summit where everything is about workplace. This was more about getting CIOs the context that they needed about, as you can imagine, about AI, right? Adoption strategies, using it for strategy setting, how to adopt ethics, governance. The couple of cool concepts that came out were this concept of the machine as a partner, which we've heard in other kind of terminology, but basically use it to your benefit and not as an evil replacement of people. And the other one I really liked was we talk a lot in IT about a technology stack. You start with your foundation and then building blocks kind of go up the stack until you get to the outcome that you need. Their concept here was a tech sandwich where you've got structured data on the bottom and unstructured data on the top, and everything else happens in between. So kind of a neat concept. The critical capabilities came out. It didn't get as big of a bang there because it wasn't that a conference focused on that. But I think it's another. Uh, I don't know what the right analogy is. Drop in the bucket. Another piece of data that's pushing us over the kind of that tipping point.
I mean, Megan and I were on various calls with various customers in the sort of weeks following the Magic Quadrant launch, and it was very striking how many mentioned the Magic Quadrant. How many congratulated us on it. And I was just curious. Last
Yeah.
question about Australia and Gartner over there at least. From talking to the team out there,
Yeah.
from meeting customers, did it have the same kind of, did it resonate in the same way, would you say?
It did. Yeah, at the booth, definitely some customers and prospective customers, some are just about to sign, some are in process, others just learning about it, but their excitement was almost to the level of, hey, you need to come with us and get up on stage next, because there's enthusiasm about what they see. The art of the possible is starting to become real in their minds, and the Magic Quadrant was brought up over and over again, not only by visitors to the booth, but there were also visitors to the booth from some of the competitive software vendors talking about the Magic Quadrant, which is always an interesting dynamic. But it definitely there's definitely awareness and visibility that I think the marketplace is starting to become aware of.
For sure, for sure. It's been a huge few months now, and
Yeah.
we had the chat. I think the last Reality Bites may have been with, of course, Andrew Robertson, who we had a great conversation about the Magic Quadrant, and then since then, as I've mentioned, we saw the launch of the Critical Capabilities Report go live. Got to admit, as involved as the team was in the launch of both, I was a little confused about what these two things were distinctly. So we have asked Sean to maybe for the listeners' benefit and perhaps for my benefit as well to kind of to help us differentiate the two, Sean, right?
Yeah, of course. I think like the easiest explanation is kind of you look at the Magic Quadrant as like the main guide, the main narrative to DEX tools and the vendors, and the critical capabilities is a companion research to it. So it's almost like if you took a novel and you had like a spin-off where you can read something else about the main characters and kind of compare them and their attributes. That's sort of what the critical capabilities research is. It's more tool focused, so it gets kind of into the weeds. of what each tool offers from the vendors. And there's 15 critical capabilities that they look across, spread also as well across 5 use cases. So it's applying like what you would think would be the most important thing to an IT professional across these use cases. So those include IT operations, IT support, experience analysis, employee enablement, and then the 5th one is adoption and employee personas. So that's what we were ranked across. Whereas the Magic Quadrant, again, it's more of like a market comparison from all those vendors that was included in the report. And that was categorized more by leaders, visionaries, niche players, and challengers.
Nice. And I guess it would be remiss, Sean, not to mention, however humbly, Next Think's own latest placement. I mean, we're getting a little bored of treading this ground, aren't we? But where did we come, Sean? How did we do?
Yeah, so this one, I mean, wasn't a surprise because we ranked so high with the Magic Quadrant. So this one goes into more detail as to why that is. So we actually, in the critical capabilities report, it was explained that we ranked the highest in all 5 use cases, the use cases I just previously mentioned, and higher than 15 vendors' products. And we recorded the top scores in 11 of 15 capabilities, including topics like DEX scoring, anomaly detection and remediation, and employee engagement.
We're not really bored of treading over this ground. Least of all, Les Gartner got that impression.
I don't think so.
We remain delighted by all of these reports and all of these placements. It's absolutely wonderful. And I mean, in terms of, we got listeners who have downloaded one, the other, or both, Sean. In terms of how you would use these, or indeed Forrester's EUEM report, another great report, to navigate the space, what would your recommendations be for people, particularly as they're sort of choosing an investment partner? How would you recommend they go about it?
Yeah, so look, it's great that we came out on top on all 3 of the reports, but Gartner and even Forrester kind of make this clear as well, that the nice thing about these reports is that you can actually tweak the variables that they use to find out what works for you. So they all have different weightings to them. And I think that's a nice thing because, maybe a certain vendor in a certain position isn't going to work for every single customer. So that really is up to you, but it's some way to put a narrative to it and compare and contrast different things. And Gartner actually had a great quote, and I'll just read it verbatim right here, referencing the Magic Quadrant. They said, "Keep in mind that focusing on the leaders quadrant isn't always the best course of action for some people. There are good reasons to consider market challengers, and a niche player may support your needs better than a market leader. It all depends on how the provider aligns with your business goals." So I think that's kind of cool. Even though we came out on top, it's, you're just being cognizant that everything is, there's a little bit for everyone in the report, depending on your needs.
Yeah, you never know. Your business needs might be you want to work with the 2nd or 3rd best.
It's all nonsense. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to restrain myself, but it's all hogwash.
Just horses for courses. Depends what your predilections are. Megan, welcome back, Megan. Good to hear from you.
Hello. Good to be back.
Excellent. It feels like it's been a while since we all got together, right? Megan, we were going to talk to you about a bit about experience today, which you and I have been up to our eyeballs in, and we haven't properly really plugged experience here on the show yet, but it is coming up, everybody, and we'll give it a proper plug at the end. But what we decided we were going to do is have Megan back on as the Reality Bytes panel guest, or maybe a DEX show guest very soon, to get a proper lowdown on all the amazing customers, topics, themes of the upcoming experience show. So we're going to do that another day. And we thought we would just get your view from the ground, Megan, about how these reports have been received internally and by customers. I already touched upon the sort of customer response, I realized, but what stood out to you so far in terms of the reception and the vibe around them?
I mean, everyone is clearly really excited about them. That has stood out to me. And like you said, Tom, even you said in the weeks after, but I think it was even the day after the Magic Quadrant got published. I think we were on 2 separate calls with 2 customers about experience, talking to them about speaking. And both of them were mentioning, Next Think as a leader in this new Magic Quadrant. So, I mean, kudos to Gartner, of course, but it's clearly signifies this larger sort of tipping point in the industry, right? There's this sort of critical mass of awareness of DEX, and not only awareness of it as this new sort of niche thing popping up in IT, but as something that businesses need to have top of mind when they're thinking about their strategies. I mean, that to me seems to be the tone shift. I think even in just the couple of years that I've been working at Next, I think it felt like a couple of years ago we were still trying to convince people that DEX was like a real thing, like a category they had to be thinking about. And now it's almost like it's reached this critical mass, and everybody's thinking about it and wants to be on top of it and wants to know and be able to speak eloquently about it. And so I think that these reports are both driving that and also an indicator of that larger sort of market shift.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, thinking about that notion of a critical mass, and cutting through the hype, you might say, what do you think, Megan, the industry needs to focus on most to ensure the potential and momentum is properly capitalized on across the next few years?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this question and listening to the way that the customers who were having to come speak on stage at Experience have been talking about what they're thinking about, because we're bringing a lot of really, I'll talk about this more in another episode, but a lot of really future-facing people to come speak on stage who have these really innovative and exciting approaches. And I think there's a few sort of key themes I've noticed that these sort of leaders in this space are putting in motion to make sure that they can capitalize on the momentum of DEX, and also to continue pushing it, right? Because it's got to continue to grow. It's got to continue to be innovative and important. So one thing that stands out to me is having the right team in place. So you can have the best tools, right? You can have the next thing tool in your environment, but if you don't have the right people to use it, to build out your strategy, to build out your program, it's just going to be another tool that you spend money on. So I think that a lot of the leaders that I've been speaking to, they seek out people who have that creativity, who are problem solvers, who are self-described as nerds, who want to both like work on computers but also think about human problems and be willing to think differently about, digital workplaces face a lot of the same problems they've always faced, but the shift with DEX is that new creative sort of perspective. So finding and building a team of people who are willing to be creative is, I think, important. And then another one is communication, right? DEX needs to matter to your team, but it also needs to matter to your executives. It needs to matter to business leaders. DEX is becoming a business critical concern, and so you need to find and develop that ability to tell that story and find ways to align what you're doing with what matters to your business. And I think that's what I'm seeing some of our leading customers learn how to do. And then the last thing I think is be open to change. DEX represents like a change, right, in how we do IT. I think that that's just going to continue over the next couple of years. Things are going to continue to shift and change, and the people who can continue this momentum and find the most success are going to be the ones who can embrace change and work through it. So that's my take from talking to our customer speakers.
Very good take, Megan, and couldn't disagree with any of it. And but Tim, also same question to you, mate. From you have slightly longer range kind of perspective in terms of DEX. Having joined Next Think, 10 years ago now?
Coming up on 9. I got one more year to get to 10.
What about you? I mean, I don't feel like Megan left anything out there actually, but is there anything that stands out to you in terms of capitalizing on this kind of tipping point, on this momentum?
Yeah, I think the feedback that we hear at the conferences and also at the Masters of Experience, the more private, personal events, it really is about having the right vision at the top and being able to set that strategy and getting that senior leader to understand that art of the possible, right? The execution, the design, the delivery of product and of technology happens kind of from the bottom up or middle down. But none of that happens without senior leader support and direction. They're the ones setting the strategy of the outcomes that they need. They don't care how you do it. They don't care, the mechanisms. They just want the outcome. So I think the momentum needs to be built from both ends. I think we're getting some really good middle and bottom momentum. And that's why I like being at the Gartner Symposium. You get to talk to the more senior leaders and help them understand AI is not just this kind of flaky thing. There's real strategy out there, and I think that top down is starting to light up as well.
Yeah, I quite agree. And I think that sort of stood out in the reports, right? It's not just about who was the most innovative vendor in terms of technology, although we were that as well. But it was who could offer like a holistic, supportive infrastructure to ensure you were successful and to reach your outcomes, a real sign of the maturity of the space. And look, we are gonna end everybody with a plug for experience, and we are gonna have Megan back on to talk specifically about experience very very soon, and we're gonna hear about some of the customers who are going to be with us, some of the organizations represented there, the analysts, themes, and topics. But for now, if you didn't already know, there are two experiences taking place this year. The first of them is in Boston. It's on the 15th to the 16th of October. Both events will be our first ever official two-day experience event. So there's loads of stuff going on day one around training and social events and an opening ceremony as well, which is very cool. That's at the Western Boston Seaport. Incredible value given that you don't have to pay for tickets. And you can click the link in the show notes, go and book your tickets right away, and hopefully we'll see you there. The second event representing Europe, I guess, is in London at the Tobacco Dock, and it's the 5th to the 6th of November, the following month. These are incredible events. We're having a lot of fun and expending a lot of creativity and work in making sure they're going to have superb content throughout. If you listen to the show, please try and make it. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to buy you a drink, chat to you, and they're just both going to be fantastic. So click the link, book your tickets now, and we'll hope to see you there. With that, just remains me to thank everybody. Lovely to see you, Megan, Sean, and Tim, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how NextThink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nextthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.